This is Lauren Smith with Nightcaller's Bigfoot Radio, and you are listening to Bigfoot Club Podcast.
I wanted to mention, if you're listening to Bigfoot Club on any of these platforms, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Stitcher, Google Play, Alexa, YouTube, Listen Notes, or Deezer, please give us a comment, give us a 5-star rating, give us a subscription, give us a follow. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, please like and follow us on social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find us by searching Bigfoot Club, the number 1. If you have any Bigfoot, paranormal, or just strange stories, please email us at bigfootclub, the number 1, at gmail.com. Please check out Matt Knapp's YouTube channel, Bigfoot Crossroads, and Planet Fear Podcasts. Planet Fear Podcast can be found on any platform. Also, give a listen to Nightcaller's Bigfoot Radio on YouTube with Lauren Smith. Nightcaller's Bigfoot Radio is also found on many other platforms. So if you enjoy the show and would like Bigfoot Club to keep making episodes, then perhaps you would consider supporting the show. You can do this by donating to our PayPal link. These donations will support Bigfoot Club to continue to bring episodes and content. Thank you so much for your support. Hey everybody, Robert Jesse Dominguez, Bigfoot Club, Season 3, Episode 5. Hey guys, how's it going? Ash and Steven?
We're great.
Hello, how's it going?
Hello, what are you, British?
Hello. Oh
Yes.
my God. Speaking of that, like the last 2 days, I got like 2 things stuck in my head. And yesterday I seen someone had shared Christian Bale from like 10 years ago doing an interview. He's like, you know what's going through my head? I was like, what? He's just like, fighting crime, trying to save the world. Here we go, just in time. The
Powerpuff Girls.
And I'm like, please let that had happened to him while he was like being Batman.
I like that. It's pretty good.
Trying to save the world.
The Powerpuff Girls. And then today someone posted, it starts playing Down with the Sickness, and it just has this picture of like a plastic water bottle, and it's like British people be like, and he just goes, ooh, wow, wow.
Wow.
That's funny.
I've watched those 2 things over and over.
I love Christian Bale.
Ooh, wow, wow.
Oh, oh, you stabbing me chest in it. When you think of that, British, you just got to think of Snatch.
Yeah.
You took the jelly out of my donut, Tommy. You did.
You had any dags?
You have any dags? Or that one time Jason Statham does an English accent. Well, why don't you bust a cap in the ass, Tommy?
Oh man, that's actually a good movie.
Yeah.
Snatch. So.
Yes, it is.
So, you guys pretty excited about talking about this Sasquatch Hulu documentary?
Yeah, I've been waiting on this fucker to come out for like a year.
I watched it today.
When it was called something else. I think of
What was it called?
something like Into the Red.
Spy Rock.
Yeah. Honestly, anytime that's like my main beef with it. That's like that's like my only beef with it. I know a lot of other people got others, but
Right.
the title, which that feels like that was a Hulu move.
Yeah,
you
because
know.
to be honest with you, there's over 24 movies named Sasquatch
Right,
something.
and which we'll get into it. You know, that wasn't the only thing that the documentary is about. I think like the original title, it probably was a little long or whatever. I don't know, but it's like Into the Redwoods or something like that. Because I watch The Wise Kids. They do their Twitch stream because they're raising money to do a movie. And they're a comedy troupe, but one of their founding members is a executive producer on this, and that's how I found out about it.
Right.
Before, like a long time ago.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for it. It's like, oh, sweet.
Yeah, because like we had talked like off show. You had like I was posting stuff on the Bigfoot Club Facebook page, and you walked into the room and you goes, hey, you need to, because you really have to check out this documentary and post it. And I go, okay. And so you sent it to me.
When the trailer dropped.
Yeah, you sent it to me, and I posted it like right away, and it got a pretty good, a lot of hits. So it got some good engagements and stuff. So I was pretty, and I looked at it, I go, that actually looks pretty good.
And it is. I mean, it's something. I mean, I'm gonna say this now, which everyone fucking knows anyway. That the crypto community is a bunch of prima donnas and whiny bitches on the internet. Yeah. And so they're mad that it wasn't enough about Bigfoot. They didn't show enough Bigfoot. It misadvertisement. It's like, no, if you actually watched if you actually watched the trailer beyond and didn't just see that it was called Sasquatch, or even read the fucking description and quit being lazy, you can see that it was a murder mystery. That might involve Bigfoot.
I should have said before the show started, if you haven't seen this documentary.
Oh, spoilers, which I don't feel like we've done any spoilers. I mean, we pretty much just covered what's already in the trailer. But yeah.
I was just going to say, if you haven't seen this documentary, stop this podcast.
Go watch it.
Go watch it and come back. And so, because
we'll see you in 3 hours.
And if you haven't seen Mortal Kombat, don't watch this episode, because Bigfoot or Sasquatch was in Mortal Kombat.
He was.
Wow.
Really? I haven't seen it. Well, now it's through and I have to leave. Bye.
I haven't seen it either. Oh. Damn it, Steven.
You have to do the whole show.
Damn it.
I hope you're prepared.
Be like Sebastian. Damn it, damn it, damn it.
Oh, what the fuck?
Damn it.
So, this actually was a really, really good, really good documentary. I was actually enthralled whenever I first started watching it. You and I watched the first 2 episodes together, and then I think I watched the 3rd episode the following day. But it's which guy on here do you know? Or you follow?
Zach Krager.
Zach Krager, okay.
He was one of the producers, and he did some of the interviews and stuff. But
because it's like they have a bunch of executive producers. Mark Duplass, Jay Duplass. I'm probably going to butcher these names. Mel Islin, Josh Rofe, Steven Berger, David Holthouse, the guy that's doing all the documentary stuff, which he did a great job on.
Yeah.
He did.
Because he was doing documentaries with, I think Joshua and him were trying to do documentaries before, and they had kind of met up or something like that. I heard it in Chris Jericho's podcast, because he was interviewing
right.
He was interviewing Josh on that one, so that was actually pretty good. So he was talking about they were trying to get together. They've been friends, they've known each other, they've been trying to do projects together, and they haven't been able to do it until they started doing this
and
one.
And I think that was Zach's involvement. He's good friends with one of them. David
Holthouse, he's infiltrated really. I knew who he was. I think I saw the interview he did because I think he was talking about he was sexually abused, and he was doing an interview on, I think it was 2020, and I saw that a long time ago, and I go, wow, that was that guy. So he's actually infiltrated skinheads, mule drug runners, I think LA gangs.
He was in deep. He's got white power tattoos and stuff. He went hardcore to infiltrate these different crime syndicates, dangerous fucking people. And that's kind of how it's probably why he went back to revisit this thing that happened to him.
Yeah.
Was after, probably after the fact. Of course, I didn't listen to his other interviews or anything like that, but
he was saying on with the director, what's his name, Joshua, was saying that he didn't say which event he was doing, but it was one of the events that he was told by I guess police or investigators saying, hey, you need to get out of town for a while. I'm assuming it was in the LA gang stuff, and so he decided to jump on his next project was the cannabis scene. So he went up and he met up with a friend that knew this cannabis grower, and so he went out to the Emerald Triangle, and he went to hang out at some farm, and so that's where he heard this story about a Bigfoot killing 3 people.
Right.
So that was actually kind of cool. I didn't know that he was leaving one project to go to like another project. So that was kind of cool. And the first episode, Grabbing at Smoke, episode 1. That was actually it kind of just grabbed me like when I first started watching it. I don't know. I'll let you guys talk about that. Whatever you guys thought about whenever you first saw the first episode. Steven?
I think
I'll let you go.
first episode was very. First of all, I like to point out the fact it's my fault, not Robert's, but I had to come in preparation. Mm-hmm. I can't speak for this episode to watch all 3 episodes, and I started late, so I started watching the first episode at 4:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And so when I was watching it, I was going in kind of blind. I remember you were telling me about the documentary, and then I was all like, "Oh, okay, cool, another Sasquatch documentary." But I didn't know that it was really like the way it was going. I was actually kind of like scared. I was like, "Dang, this is a little bit more than I was anticipating."
Yeah,
I didn't know that there was like that it was like a murder mystery, and I was like, it made you made you think like, man, if they found these victims like that, then it was I don't want to go too far ahead of what way ahead of you, but
right.
I thought that it was. I think the first episode laid out where it was going to very well. Mm-hmm. And that guy, what's his name? You just said his name a while ago. David, did most of the interview.
David Holthouse.
Yeah, David. He's a fantastic investigator, and he knows. I think he knows a little bit more than he should of how to get in contact with like stuff like that. That's real dangerous that you shouldn't do. But he's a reporter and an investigator. So, but yeah, I liked how he handled everything throughout the show, and especially through the first episode of introducing of what his documentary was heading towards.
Right.
Yeah, I think they had several eyewitnesses from different areas, several quote unquote researchers. They had Dr. Meldrum on there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that. And I was like, oh, that's nice.
Like, they covered their bases. Like, if you don't know shit about Bigfoot, you can watch, and you just like true crime or murder mysteries or anything, or just whatever. You can. They did very well to make this for wide audiences too. Mm-hmm. I know some people aren't very happy with it all.
Yeah, we can talk about that too. So,
but I didn't know because Zach suggests we watch him on stream and stuff,
right?
And it's mostly him and his comedy troupe, and it's his buddies, and they just like tell stories, watch old sketches from their TV show or whatever. They're just basically trying to raise money for this animated movie that they're making called Mars. Y'all look it up. I love it. I love Wise Kids. They're like, this has been like my therapy basically on Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah, you watch it
so that I can like
you watch it.
It's
all the
like
time.
long distance hanging out with like internet acquaintances.
Yeah,
and laughing.
Right.
But he just would call it his Sasquatch doc, and like because people would be like, well, then when they find out that Zach did a documentary on Bigfoot, then it starts. Well, what do you think about this thing, and what do you think about that? And it's like he seems like he likes the idea of things like that. Like he likes the cryptids and mythology and horrors and stuff like that. But I think this made him a little jaded, which I can understand.
Right.
I feel like he wants to believe, but wants to pretend like he doesn't.
Yeah, I think he was saying on Jericho's podcast that he was convinced that these people that they like on Bigfoot podcast. I'm not gonna say which Bigfoot podcast he's talking about because I don't want to support him.
Yeah, which I was talking about Zach, and you're talking about what's his name? What's his name?
Joshua.
Yeah. But if it's the same podcast,
yeah, I'm not gonna say.
I'm pretty sure it's the same podcast.
Yeah, it is.
And if they had listened to it, but he says he listens to it because he thinks it's bullshit because they don't really screen their their people that they have come on and speak. But anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then Joshua was saying that he's convinced that these people that are going on this podcast are convinced that they saw something and they're afraid. So that was
Right.
kind of got him to want to do this documentary. But I did want to say that these guys, there was 3 cannabis workers that were killed on this cannabis farm, and so we had talked off show about this, about Bigfoot's doing like damage to people and stuff like that. And I've ran across stories like,
I mean, we did the Brown Springs episode.
Yeah.
And I've heard, a few stories, not very often, obviously. But.
Right. I mean, because like we were talking like during this during the documentary.
'Cause I had to pause and take notes.
Yeah.
And then ask questions throughout too.
So you were asking me, do you think it's like feasible for like a Bigfoot to does physical damage to people? And I kind of responded to you was like, go ahead.
What I was like, it's like, how often do you think that something like that happens?
Right.
And it's reported as something else.
Right. So
Just like, out of curiosity, just like,
I think that I think, but I think it's one of those things that like it's remote, like all the remote areas, like in British Columbia, the like the Yukon, Alaska, Portlock, that people don't. That Bigfoots don't see a lot of people, and then like they don't know how to interact. And I'm guessing here that they just get really physical with these people because they probably think there are other Bigfoot with like less hair. I don't know. So
it would be like a territorial.
Yeah,
thing.
a territorial thing. So I thought it was feasible, because this area is like pretty remote. The Emerald Triangle. So it's northern part of California, northwest part of California, but it's pretty rugged. Like I think from San Francisco up to Washington, it's pretty remote. There's like thousands and thousands of square footage of miles of just trees and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But
And also, I like to point out that whenever I was watching it, I was trying to figure it out. I said, if this ends up being true, of a Bigfoot actually killing these 3 people, I said these people must have been really, really bad.
Yeah,
for them to like if they already pointed out that how there was like people out there, growing weed and stuff, and doing drugs, but there were some of them that were doing, selling other drugs that
they're doing
that
meth.
shouldn't be doing meth and
because
cocaine and all that, and I think the Bigfoot, I was thinking like, oh man, the Bigfoot, they must have done something really bad, and this Bigfoot just got pissed.
Well, and I just had a memory that we know a story where allegedly it was near like one that was behaving aggressively was doing so on the same property they were cooking.
And the Bigfoots attacked the trailer.
I didn't even think about that until just now. And it's like, if they're also cooking meth out there, if this happened at all, too, and if it were them, then maybe there's something about that they don't like.
Yeah,
Which I don't blame them.
I don't either. So I mean, it's to me, it was like the story when the opening episode, it seemed really like believable to me that this could have happened.
Right.
These people, because like apparently these guys were like mangled, torn apart, arms torn off, just looked like they were just run over and stuff like that. So,
and they said that like allegedly before then they had which we did a little blip on a story last year or the year before that this was happening in Washington, where they just come in and they strip it and eat it anyway. Well, they said that like they were doing that, or they were like pulling up off the tops, and these are like for audience perspective, I don't know how you've ever seen like wild grown marijuana plants or cannabis plants, whatever vernacular you choose to use, it just depends,
La marijuana.
Grandma. Sorry, Grandma. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ash.
But they're really tall. They're like, 6-7 foot tall plant. Not where most people wouldn't, if it's just a person doing it, they wouldn't pick it from the top, and I would think lower down or whatever, but, So there have been reports of that before. Anyway, in other stories too, which, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does, because I know in East Texas, I always seem to always find like cedars, the top of cedars is up, like the very tip of it's just broken off. And so whenever they were saying that, one of the investigators, I think it was Jerry Hen, he was talking about they were like just pulling the weed off the top and just biting it. So it actually made sense to me. I said, yeah, that's
so, like they're using it for a painkiller, or
yeah,
they just like to get fucked up, which ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
They commune with nature, they're one with it, and it's from there for that.
But the opening episode had a lot of who's who and like Bigfoot stuff, and so they had Bobo Fett.
You almost said Bobo Fett, didn't you?
I did. I was dead.
I
I was dead.
They did. I don't remember that part. I must have fell asleep.
James Bobo Fett and Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Jerry Hen, which I don't know that well, but he's I guess based out of California. I'm really surprised they didn't ask Daniel Perez to be a part of this, but that's just me.
They still had, and then they had Bob Giblin on it too.
Bob Gimlin and Bob Hieronymus.
Yes.
So
sitting there, like they live down the road from each other.
Yeah.
Like they're best frenemies. Like they should make a movie just about their friendship.
Yeah, they should. I think this is the first time I've seen a documentary where they had them back to back, and because like they're always like talking about Bob Hieronymus. Anybody that knows like Bigfoot, Bob Hieronymus claims to be the Patty and Bluff Creek in '67, and the guy's like 5'10" or 5'9" or something. So, but
yeah,
anyway,
that's what I was like. He's 5'9".
So,
He's wearing stilts, bro.
But
he went to clown college. He got a scholarship like Steve-O.
So, but I was noticing that this documentary came out on 420 Wednesday. So,
Tuesday.
So yeah, so Wednesday, James Bobo Fett like posted on Facebook that he was pissed about him. They were like they didn't show his entire interview, and so he was saying that during his interview, I guess on this documentary, he was saying that hey, he's heard stories of them like killing people and them throwing rocks and stuff, but he was later saying that he's heard the stories, but then he went back and that was actually BS, and so they left that part out. So he was really upset. He had a really long rant on Facebook, and there's probably Twitter too. So, but he was pretty pissed.
Well, yeah, you cut his screen time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, that happens. It's fucking filmmaking. He got edited for time.
Yeah.
They covered what they needed to cover.
Uh-huh.
And I don't feel like it's out of context because the stories that he heard are bullshit. We've heard stories that have not been confirmed or denied as bullshit.
Yeah.
So all that they needed was for someone to be like, yeah, I've heard that. I mean, it was just for the narrative, because if he didn't say that, then half a dozen other people could say, yeah, I've heard that, and I think it's true.
Yeah. There's, I know there's been some stories here in Texas that had physical contact.
Yeah.
And I think
your buddy got pushed over that one time.
Yeah. And then what's her name? I can't think of her name right now. Deborah Thornton.
Yeah.
The Deborah Thornton story. So that one had like a lot of physical stuff. So anytime it has physical stuff, that always intrigues me, because anybody can, talk about a story about a Bigfoot crossing a road or, behind someone's house or something like that. But when you have physical contact or emotional, like a murder or just facial expressions, that always like intrigues me about Bigfoot stuff. But anyway.
I mean, I don't know how it couldn't be that way, because I don't care. There's, for the most part, of course, they're allegedly they're peaceful or whatever, but they're living creatures. There can be violent ones. There can be ones that you got pushed too far.
Mm-hmm.
Their ways are not our ways.
Yeah.
And
I always think about Rambo whenever you say that. You got pushed too far.
Well, they drew first blood.
Yeah, they sure did.
And then Biggie fucked them up.
Yeah.
Isn't that just a really toddler way of saying that, well, he started it?
Yeah. More or less. They drew first blood.
They drew first blood.
Or it was, we could be quoting Gremlins too.
Yeah. I listened to a really good podcast with Sly on it a few months ago.
Oh yeah.
So one of my Vanderpump ladies, she's married to a producer, had him on, but told his whole like really in depth about getting that movie made and Rocky and stuff. And man, I didn't realize how much of a hustler he was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he is a hustler.
yeah.
He's like Ice-T. I'm just kidding. But I thought the most funniest or the sleeper star of this documentary were those what's his name, Wayne and George, the couple, the life partners, the Bigfoot hunters. So there was like
I loved it because that's just like that just added to the realism. Like, yeah, man. That's how it goes. You think they walk through pores? No, I don't. It's like, you do. You do.
Don't start. It was
no.
That's like a perfect portrayal of the Bigfoot community, big time.
In a relationship.
Yeah. So, man,
absolutely. But like the one part I had to pause and talk about it was the interview with that cop. Or the retired police officer.
Hold on. I gotta go ahead, keep talking. I got his name right here.
But he was recounting his encounter, which was not an overly violent encounter, but it was like you can tell that he had sustained, like he had post-traumatic issues with it, And it just, I had to pause it and I was talking. It's like,
Jim Murphy was his name.
Yeah. And God, it was just like, it was moving.
Yeah.
Like, even now, just thinking about it just kind of like riles me up.
Yeah. I mean, cause like we were talking whenever we were watching it, and it's like, I've talked to like at least like 3 or 4 people like that, that, they're convinced that they saw something and they were pretty scared and they didn't know where else to go to, and end up talking to me. And because like whenever I saw his interview, I felt really bad for the guy.
I did too, and it got me to talking. And it's just like, that's like, you can't talk to a therapist about how I seen a Bigfoot or I seen a fucking ghost or whatever, and it's like, oh, it's a manifest. They're not gonna know how to help you, and just like how. When we used to do like paranormal research or anything, that it was so mechanical, and now I would almost want to treat it like almost like a spiritual thing, like a shamanistic. Like, I don't want to say I'm a shaman, but like, where you sit with. I don't even want to call them clients, but with the people that need your help, and you talk about things and you work on stuff because there is trauma, to help them to understand what happened. I know because I have my own post-traumatic, I have CPTSD, which is from long-term trauma, not just a singular event like that. But what helped me the most was to understand the personality traits of my abusers, and to understand what they did to me and why I now am the way I am, like why I react to things, to help control my triggers, to help to control me just looping into these behaviors, and to recognize them and to understand why. And I'm just like, those people need this too.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. I think it's part of me when I'm attracted to other Bigfoot researchers or other groups that actually just want to help people rather than just want to document.
Like, I don't even give a fuck about documenting anymore. I just want to understand it better, and I want to help others that want to learn to do so properly, to know what we know, and to not the shit that's on TV. I'm so sick of like all this fucking like Discovery Channel crap and people stomping through the woods with giant lights and cameras and shit and making stuff up just so they could be on camera and being mad that they got their fucking screen time cut.
Yeah. And
aren't just trying to help or to better it or whatever,
Because that one retired cop, he was, you can clearly see that he was bothered by it. I'm willing to bet that he actually, this is probably one of the very few times he's actually talked about it.
Yeah, because, so, I mean, like,
He took off his glasses and like he was like
in his where he was employed. You can't talk about it. And especially that, and especially, you know, to be fucked up about it. Like, even if he had talked about it, he hadn't really talked about his experience before, probably.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, it's like, how do you even begin with people outside of the world, you know, that understand? You don't even know. I mean, even just any kind of trauma. I mean, I was kind of talking about mine earlier, and it's like, I don't even know how to begin. It's the hardest thing to do, to talk about with things like that, because you don't want that to be who you are, but it's deeply ingrained in you.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to sometimes. It's just like, how do I not only share why I react to things the way I do with someone new to understand how to be and not to be around me, or this is why I behave this way, but also to talk about it to a way that you don't relive your trauma. That's why it's hard to start with new therapists after you've had trauma, at least for me, because it's like you're reliving it. Sometimes your body reacts like you're in the middle of it again. And it's not easy to do.
No, it's not.
Like, I commend him, because it was like it just happened again, probably, to him.
Yeah. On this episode also, David Holthouse, he hires a private investigator, like a retired cop, and like he helps him out with finding some leads regarding the ghost story of the Bigfoot, because it would be hard to try to find that, you know, because like there was like no story, there's no body, there's no police report, so he was kind of reaching for a ghost story, and so he hired a private investigator to help him find some leads. And so I think he found some cannabis connections to this retired police officer, and so he was able to reach out to some people, and so he ends up reaching out to some people, and he does like a bunch of interviews on the phone and stuff like that. And at the very end of this episode, he gets a text from the private investigator saying, "Hey, you're entering some dangerous territory.
I quit. I have a family."
Yeah, so that's pretty much what he's saying. Steven, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that's whenever everything like changed. I said, okay, maybe this isn't what the title is meant.
The Bigfoot Mafia's after you,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
or the Men in Black.
Something.
That's what I was thinking. I go, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's the government.
If that's what that was, this documentary never would have showed up, and then that guy would have died mysteriously in a car wreck that was fiery.
Yeah.
Like the guy that invented the water powered car.
Yeah. But this second episode is entitled Spy Rock, episode 2. And they start off with like real friendly with Bobby Gimlin. They talk about Bob Gimlin, and they talk about when he was in Bluff Creek with Roger Patterson whenever he was alive, and it kind of mirrored in. I know we talked about a little bit. Bob Hieronymus was talking about that Bobby Gimlin and Roger Patterson paid him $1,000 to wear the suit, and I've heard, you know, he's gone on conferences and talks to people, but you know, everybody always, he's just trying to get famous for that deal and stuff like that,
and it worked.
Yeah.
What's annoying is when you see him walk. He tries so hard to walk like he goes, yeah, it's just normally how I just walk, and I've been, you know,
the limp
whatever,
arm, big swing, shoulder thing.
Yeah, he looks like Ezra Miller practicing for the running scene of The Flash.
Yeah,
I'm like, what are you swimming? What are you doing?
But the reason why they interviewed these guys and went over the Patterson Gimlin film was because this area where this allegedly happened is not too far from where they had this sighting.
Right. I
figured that.
Yeah, that's actually, because I go, man, there are Bigfoot there. I know I mean, I don't research in that state, but after seeing that, I said, man, there got to be a lot of Bigfoot there. But I thought it was kind of interesting.
And they kidnap you, according to Bobcat Goldthwait. No, I dig that movie. You'll never watch it.
I probably will eventually, but
it's really good, and it's not too bad on the shaking camera. Let's take a Dramamine beforehand.
So he ends up interviewing this guy named Razor.
Yeah.
At the very end of the first episode, he kind of gets in touch with him.
Because I was like, is it going to be Scott Hall? Because I hope it's Scott Hall.
This guy actually looked like Rob Van Dam, to be honest with you. He looked just like him with glasses on and stuff. And so,
like his brother.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Dob Dan Van. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't
Dob
know.
Dan Van.
Michael and Michael. He made that joke because we seen that guy that looked like Michael, and I was like, what's his name? I don't know, Michael. And this motherfucker said he never seen Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Where they have the conjoined twin aliens.
Michael.
Oh,
And one of them
yeah.
is Michael, and one of them is Michael, and
I've never seen it. I've never
they're
seen
on
it. I
separate
swear.
channels, but they're right next to each other, filming two different shows, and the other one's like, whatever, you're the golden guy, Michael, and they were just they weren't planning on me, so they're like, well, whatever, fuck it, just name him Michael.
Let's name him Michael. Yeah, he's got a lot of mental depression there with that one.
I've never seen it. I promise. I've never seen it. So
You should. It's a great show.
They stole that from you.
But they end up talking about there's like tons of murders on supposedly allegedly whenever this story takes place. David Holthouse goes up to work on his cannabis farm, and it's raining, and he can't really see where he was going. And allegedly, it's on Spy Rock Road, and so eventually, it led him to this area with these informants and Razor and stuff like that. So he talks about this part of this documentary. Starts talking about Hell's Angels and how Hell's Angels was running that whole road.
To go into it, why it is that way is like back during this time. It's like the cannabis industry.
Mm-hmm.
This was back when in the early '90s, late '80s. They're doing heavy on the war on drugs, and basically, coming in and terrorizing these people. I mean, I know that at the time it was illegal, whatever. It was overkill.
Yeah.
And so these people trying to earn a living to make these plants that shouldn't be illegal to begin with. Which I don't, whatever. People have their opinions. It's not illegal in California anymore.
Right.
But
they were talking about camp.
yeah.
What was it? I forgot the abbreviation for that.
It was basically, these police units that would come in, and these places had basically homesteads
right.
out there, farms with their kids, with schools where they would come in with these helicopters and arrest all these people. A lot of times they would shoot all their animals just for the fuck of it. When there was little kids around, excessive force out the ass. I mean, I don't want to get political, or anything like that, but that's why they ended up turning to these people that were criminals and going into the backcountry, which is why they started doing the growers started doing methamphetamine, because they were climbing up these way back on these trails so they can hide them in the trees, which I think that's why it was called Among the Redwoods, because that's where they were growing their pot plants to hide, because they're being raided all the time. And I mean, draw your own opinions about it. I don't want to whatever, but that's why they ended up having these criminal people and bringing this in and getting these situations.
Yeah.
But that's also why, to kind of go off to a very important part of this, that migrant workers will work there a lot, because they didn't ask questions, they didn't need documentation, and they can make money fast to send to their families.
And so I think they were talking about there's tons of murders on this one stretch of road that have a bunch of cannabis farmers and growers, because as he's talking to informants and he's talking to people, the informants are telling him, it goes, well, he was asking the question, is it okay if I go up there and start asking questions? And they said, no,
Nope.
that's not a place to go, unless you're invited. And so there's he was showing clippings upon clippings about murders, and how like you were saying, they were having Mexican nationals go up there and just working, and then like when harvest season came around, they would just kill them. And
sometimes they would, or they would, whatever,
kill them
caught in a crossfire, and no one would report them missing, or they wouldn't know that they were missing because it was normal to not hear from them for a while because it was so remote. And
like I think that the county, I think the sheriff was talking about, man, because they were running into bodies and they didn't know who it was from. They didn't have any ID, and so
no one would talk.
No one would talk. So it was just kind of sad. And they were kind of mentioning a guy that was, and because I think it kind of led him to one of the murders, and I think he was like, it got confused.
Yeah, it was the one where it was the younger kid, like he was barely out of his teens.
Yeah, Hugo Aleo Lopez.
That someone, like, he was sleeping in a tent and somebody shot him through the tent.
And he had his like niece on there, like talking. I felt really bad for her.
Yeah.
And she was Diana from Awaka. So and she's talking about her uncle and stuff like that. That was like really sad. That kind of tugged at my heart a little bit, but that she's talking about, well, what a great uncle he was, and she was never going to see him again, and he was always laughing and wanted her to enjoy her life.
I mean, and he was just trying to, of course, whatever, it was illegal, blah, 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 with the wrong people. But when it came down to it, it's a desperate kid just trying to make a living for himself and his family to better their lives.
Yeah.
And he was murdered because, unfortunately, the legality of this pushed it into the system that involved seedy individuals.
Yeah. And it was like, I think all the stories he was talking to, all the people he was going back and talking to, it led it to one guy, and they kept blurting out his name, and he was like the alleged killer, and they would just, the stories would always go back to this one guy, and I think he met up with him at a restaurant, and he was asking him, hey, are you a reporter? And I heard you're looking into the story about 3 Mexican nationals that were killed by a Bigfoot, and but I think he was pretty worried about this one dude, and he wouldn't say his name on the documentary because he felt that it was not worth it.
Because, like they said, I caught that that one blurb when he was on Jericho's podcast, because guess what? Everybody involved, if they said their name, would probably end up dead.
Yeah.
That's the kind of person
this guy
they're
was
dealing with.
Yeah, this guy was. So, and one of the characters we didn't talk about on this was his name was Ghost Dance. I loved him. I thought he was pretty free and open. He was talking about this guy, who he was, what kind of truck he drove, if he had long hair, and he just openly just talked about it. But he didn't say his name or nothing like that.
Yeah.
But he was talking about him, how openly he was. Yeah, he's associated with the Hell's Angels, and he drives a 4x4 truck, and he's got long hair, and he's he looks like he listens to the Grateful Dead and stuff like that.
Which would be like about any member of the HAs that was born before 1980.
Yeah. So, it was pretty intriguing because it kind of turned from an actual Bigfoot story to a murder story. So that he was kind of focused, because I know he was talking about before, like on his other stuff, his journalistic stuff, that he seeks monsters.
Right.
And whether, we're saying Bigfoot is a monster or something like that, he was talking about people in general and how they really are and stuff like that. So he was kind of, he was invested in this, which I thought was kind of cool, and that he was really trying to find out if this alleged killer was the actual killer, the alleged killer of this incident. So, but that was pretty cool. Steven, you got anything?
No, what you said was exactly how I would have said it. Like how how he says that he chases or goes after monsters. Mm-hmm. When in reality, I think that's what I think on one of the episodes they talk about it, how we always look to monsters as a escaping coping mechanism. Mm-hmm. Like there's a boogeyman in my closet or under my bed, or don't go in the cave, because there's a monster there, it's going to eat you and all that stuff. And I don't know where that started, but yeah, I mean, it's reality. The monsters on that are, we walk along them because they're people.
Yeah, they're not hairy creatures in the woods. They're just people.
No, they're
people.
That's the worst kind because they're inviting.
This guy seemed like a hairy
smile
creature
at you. They talk to you. They manipulate you, and and they'll do whatever they can to, hence that's why we have serial killers, Ted Bundy, all that stuff, and the real monsters are people.
Yeah. The third episode was it was titled "Monsters Among Us," and it kind of continues talking about that alleged killer, and he was actually interviewing other people that would get in his vehicle and would meet up and stuff like that. I think he went out to one cannabis farm with one guy, and the guy was overly racist, big time, and then he ended up
that's kind of a thing too to go is because these people that were murdered are allegedly murdered. There's no evidence of other than stories, and people saying that they saw it happen. That's one issue. It's just that's how, unfortunately, that's a big thing, especially among 1% motorcycle associates or people click up, and it's like us against them in a lot of situations like that. And they were talking about how they thought that these nationals are coming in to take over, older growers to take over their farms, which, I mean, honestly, I kind of don't think that was true.
Right.
I think it was an excuse to do horrible things to people that were not the same as them,
and then they didn't want to pay them. So but this part of the documentary, it got to a point where I think there was another investigator that was talking about this guy named Bigfoot Gary, and so whenever we got to this part of this documentary, I said, "Man, it wasn't a Bigfoot. It was this guy, Bigfoot Gary." So. And they were showing the animation, which the animation was great on this, by the way. I just wanted to point that out. It was done.
This was the 5 seconds that I fell asleep for.
Yeah.
Because I was celebrating.
So they were showing a footprint and how it changed to a regular boot print.
Oh, yeah.
And so they were talking about Bigfoot Gary, and he starts looking for this guy. And so he talks to other informants, and other informants were feeding him information that it was Bigfoot Gary that had supposedly, because I think he was doing a story on, there was 2 other people that were murdered in 96, and he was thinking it was the same story in 93, and so it led him to Bigfoot Gary, and so the other informants were saying that Bigfoot Gary had someone else kill these 2 guys or 3 guys because that they had partied with his daughter and had raped her or something. So
but is not true.
Yeah, it's not. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I go, okay, so we went from a Bigfoot story to a actual murder, and I was still invested into the story. To me, it was still intriguing story for me to follow. I mean, I'm sure all the Bigfooters, like you were saying earlier, were saying, oh, it's not really about Bigfoot, and I was invested in the story.
It could have been, but it was a mystery. You know? I mean, they should be happy. As I seen a meme, it's Bigfoot researchers mad that Bigfoot's not violent. And then also them. Bigfoot didn't murder 3 people? What the fuck? It's make up your mind.
Yeah. So and it's funny because how this documentary was going, he thought that Bigfoot Gary was involved in all this, and it turns out he wasn't. And he didn't have a daughter in 93
because they got him on the phone.
Yeah, they got him on the phone, and he was he was pretty emphatic about he wasn't even in that county and at that time period. I think he came back in in 97 or something like that. But
and he didn't have a daughter until 2000.
2000. So that's whenever he had a daughter. So that was kind of like a dead end a little bit in a way. So
well, it was a process of elimination.
Yeah. So I think from there, I think it went full circle. He actually ended up getting in contact with the guy that he was on the farm with, the guy that owned that first that cannabis farm that he actually heard the story. He was at, and he heard the story. So he was able to reach that guy. Yeah. And the guy that calls him, because I'm not really sure if this was actual phone call or they reenacted it because.
It said there was a disclaimer, I think, that some of them were.
Yeah, some of them were like reenacted, and so.
But I imagine that was for safety reasons. So
Yeah.
it might have been word. I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
If I'm making that up in my head or if somebody else was talking about. No, it was somebody else talking about a documentary like that. But there's several like true crime documentaries and stuff like that that have to reenact phone calls like that for like legal reasons.
Right.
And like in case something does end up going or whatever, it could be evidence or I don't know. But anyway.
So, so this guy actually, like, he reaches the guy that had the farm from the original story, like the very beginning, and like David Holthouse just says at this part, because hey, you gotta make sure you edit this part out, because this guy, he was the guy of all the people that he was most afraid of. It seemed like on the documentary that he's pretty scared of this guy. So, and this guy was kind of like talking to him about the story was all true. And, and I was like, when I was watching, I said, okay, maybe the Bigfoots did kill the people. And he was talking about that whatever you heard, it's all true. And but I think David kind of figures out that that these three people, like we were talking about earlier, were three Mexican nationals that were moving into this one guy's farm, and they were going to try to take it over, and so they had to make it like an example of them. And so they end up, like making the area look like a Bigfoot that came to the area. They were ripping up like plants and
to scare them, because it's like, I guess someone had made a throw allegedly. Of course, I have my own opinions on this story anyway. But allegedly, what this guy said is like someone's like, oh, it's too bad you guys don't have like a chupacabra up here so we could scare these people. It's like, well, we have Bigfoot,
So.
So they're like, well, let's make an example and then let's scare these guys so they'll run off. Which the first thing was the way he described how they went about this.
Doing it was pretty evil.
But it just seemed far fucking fetched.
Yeah,
like that they would put in that much effort because they could just kill them a little bit and like bloody them up or whatever and be like, oh, Bigfoot did it, and it's a bunch of tweakers, because that was who came to tell at that cabin was this guy who was always high on meth, and that alters your mind when you see stuff. But he's like, they went and told him because he'll talk.
Yeah, and like Razor was saying, like that he heard the story like in a bar.
Yeah.
And so that, that was probably what they wanted to do, is like make sure it got out and people heard the story. But allegedly, yeah.
Because we have just a story, it could all just be a lie.
Yeah. Cause there's no bodies, there's no police report. So
I feel like everyone that was involved lied to a point, if not completely.
Yeah, because they never went out and saw where there was.
Well, they couldn't do that, and like he didn't see the crime scene. He didn't see the bodies with his own eyes. Yeah. He doesn't even know that they existed.
Right. But it was that was pretty much like the end of the documentary, because he was kind of just left it at that. These cannabis farmers framed Bigfoot for these three murders, if they actually were murders. So. But at the same time, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the show, and I'm probably going to be looking for this guy to do more documentaries. I'll probably be checking him out too. So,
I mean, I think he's got a few, but
yeah.
I mean, I thought it was well done. I thought, just from a documentary standpoint, that it painted a really good picture. It had a good flow. I mean,
it did.
For people that don't watch things like that just want people hooting and hollering in the dark, it's probably not for you.
Yeah.
But for people that want a very well done and well versed and thought out, informative piece of entertainment, and watch this.
Yeah, I think I haven't been this excited on a documentary in a while.
Really?
Yeah, so I was pretty excited about this one because normally, if we do stuff like that, it's usually like really late or stuff in the past. But this one is like just came out, and I was pretty interested about doing a show on it and stuff. So I don't know. I really, like I said, I really liked it. So
yeah, I've been waiting for it for almost a year, man. Am I still into my Bigfoot doc?
Yeah.
My Bigfoot doc when I talked to Dr. Meldrum. And I don't know, man. Whatever. They believe it.
Yeah.
I think his issue with it was that he thought that Meldrum believed it too much.
Yeah.
Which I guess I could get that. I would want a doc, like a scientist to have more of a seat of doubt about something that's not necessarily, I don't know. There's just something about that. He's like, I didn't like that, but I don't know. He thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I think when I was listening to Chris Jericho's podcast with Joshua, he was saying that he was pretty scared for David a lot of times because David would go out and go interview people, but he would drive in areas of that county and he would lose signal.
Yeah.
And so he would lose signal and he would like not know if he was okay and if he was all right. And he said he came back after time. So
there was like one part where he went out to one of those farms or whatever and he was like, just don't film my license plate. But
yeah,
but yeah, one thing that we didn't talk about, like with these farms, that all these hippies were armed to the teeth because they were ripping each other off and stealing from each other
left and right. Yeah.
But also maybe Bigfoot was eating it.
I mean, because like we also didn't mention this also like in the very beginning as well. The Emerald Triangle is like supposedly like it has the best climate for everything, like farming, weed. They have the best food, best flowers. The flowers grow bigger and stuff like that. So apparently this stuff that were growing there it was top notch, and so they was selling at an incredible rate, I guess.
Oh yeah.
So.
Especially back when it was like super black market on drugs. And then like when they would get raided and lose their product and then the prices would skyrocket, so the little bit that you had was worth a fucking ton of money. So if someone runs in and steals your shit, so they're putting up and they had all kinds of booby traps and like talking about like hanging fish hooks at eye level.
That's crazy,
putting
man.
up like, like animal snares and shit like that. Ugh.
Bear traps, bear snares, and all that stuff. So yeah.
So that's why.
Also, was it Bigfoot Gary that I guess they looked into his records of he had owned different type of guns. And how like they seized like 223 marijuana plants and that was worth like 150,000 or more.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, like this guy does sound dangerous, and then they kind of just, I don't know, the way he was no, I was like never there during that time. I only did it in the 70s and I never killed anybody, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, what the
He might not have never killed anybody, but he definitely was there.
Yeah.
I was there, but I didn't kill anybody.
There.
Because you can call me whatever you want. I'm an asshole. I'm a dickhead. I'm like,
Charles Manson didn't kill anybody either, allegedly, too.
No,
and
he sure didn't.
No.
He sure the fuck rot in jail for a lot of murders.
Mm-hmm.
That's
very true.
We're at 1 minute and 1 second.
Oh.
Look at us. Look at us go.
Earl gets really mad whenever I do that.
Why?
Because
just with us and not with him.
Yeah.
Oh.
He goes, hey Earl, we're at 59 minutes, about to be an hour.
No,
it's an hour.
He was upset because like we were doing the one with Ray Ramos, and I told Ray Ramos, I said we're coming up on an hour.
Oh, and he was mad about that.
He's mad about that.
You said hour.
So he said, no, I'm leaving. I'm going.
I quit.
Yeah. So
everything else up until now he's put up with all of the fucking and all that. Well, not the fucking, but me saying it.
Yeah.
There's not been that. That's not that kind of show.
Hey, Robert.
Earl the Pro. Yeah.
He just can't handle that. Yeah. Carl Urban is like the best Judge Dredd out there.
Yeah, I think the last 2 episodes he was saying that on the wrestling podcast one, because in case people don't know, I do a wrestling podcast too. I do Ringside View podcast with Earl the Pearl.
Back in the dark days, it used to be the other half of our show.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So
it's a long, long ago.
many moons ago. So
The before time.
I just wanted to say, because I normally don't talk about personal stuff with me here on this show. But I just wanted to say that I'm going to be out of pocket in May. So we're probably going to take a break because I got some stuff that I got to take care of.
You can talk into a microphone laying in bed.
I don't know. Well,
When your buddy's going to be here, you're not going to want to turn on a microphone.
I don't know.
Time.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
We'll see. I may do it with the H2N. So with the Zoom H2N,
Oh, yeah.
it's probably be easier to do it like that. So,
Sit it up there on the coffee table.
but
We could do that with this.
so.
On the coffee table, lay on the couch.
But I got some medical stuff I got to take care of, and so it's coming up in May. So I'll probably take a little break and then come back strong. So we got some good guests coming back, not coming back, but coming. Yeah, well, I want to get Luke back on, number one, and of course get Kenny and Tim back on.
I'm already going to tell you that I'm going to be conspiring while he's here. And if we got to go see Luke soon,
Yeah,
for what I've been wanting to do. And hey, if you're taking time off,
yeah,
I mean, obviously not immediately, but like towards the end of it.
right. She's talking about going into the cabin.
Yeah. I didn't
Steven.
finish my sentences. Yeah. Because I want to go. And I know y'all haven't hung out together, all of y'all at once, in how long?
I haven't
Years?
I haven't been in the cabin since before I started at my current job now. That was like in 2019. I think it was 2018. I think whenever I went last time I went to the cabin with Kenny. What was the last time you had gone to the cabin, Steven?
It's definitely been a while, but
Since the boys were born, right?
yeah,
before that?
since the boys are
4 years?
were born. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but yeah, they are a big part of my life now, and I would like once they get a little bit older to take them eventually out there, and
They'll be 5 next year. That's good.
Yeah.
so I
Supposedly,
I'll just save it up until they get a little bit older, and then we'll plan a trip out there.
but supposedly he's gotten a lot of activity recently up there. So he's taking,
of course,
he's taking other couples up there,
Of course.
and then like he's had some stuff happen out there.
You haven't brought me out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Bigfoot 1 and Bigfoot
Beep,
2
beep.
is like,
But
hey,
take me?
we haven't. The Dominguez guys haven't been out here. Let's start doing some activity around here
Yeah.
with Kenny by himself.
Me, you, and Luke,
Yeah.
Tim,
Ow.
and whoever else.
Did you hit your head?
No, I hit my hand, hit the mic. Sorry.
Need to go out there for a weekend.
Yeah, Kenny likes to go now during the weekday now.
Well, Kenny,
Kenny likes to just go there for
I
weeks.
need to go. Well, okay. You can go up there for weeks, and we'll join you on the weekend.
Yeah.
Because I'm a broke bitch, and those are my days off.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I can only do two days max, man.
Yeah.
After that, like, need to go home and
Yeah, I think
sleep on the bed and shower.
I think the last time I went up there with him was like right before I
I can do
started.
like a 3-day weekend.
Like whenever before I started this current job now, we went during the weekday and we left on Tuesday and we got back on Sunday. So I was up there a
Like,
while.
If we're working, like,
Yeah.
if we got something going big, then who knows?
Man, it was quiet up there when
But-
I went, so it's quiet.
I'm just saying, let's get the right people in the right spot,
Yeah.
and they'll,
Yep.
like, kind of like if you build it, they will come.
God,
You know?
I wish that was true, but I don't know. I've been kind of hitting
I don't-
dry stuff there,
Yeah, well,
but that's just me.
well.
Maybe if I take you,
But
it'll
what
happen.
I'm saying is, how long has it been since all these people have been together? And I've not been with all of them either.
Right.
But,
It's been
increase your odds with people that they already favor. It's just what I'm saying.
it's been a while.
And it would be fun.
And
Even if nothing happens, it would still be fun.
Yeah, I talked to Luke the other day too, and I think we had a pretty good conversation. So
Yeah, we're just not taking Limer. Ever.
no, I don't even know where he's at. So,
Okay.
but
Well, I think this will do it for the show, man. This is we covered some good stuff.
Yeah, I
So-
think so too.
Do you guys,
I agree.
You guys want to say goodnight?
No.
No? Okay.
Good night.
Okay, we're out.